My name is Khalid Taimur Akram, and I'm here with another episode of Eurasian Perspective program. Today, we have the honor that we have Mr. Adam Tugio with us, who's the ambassador of Indonesia to Pakistan. Sir, welcome to our show.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
So, before we go further into the talk, can you just explain the audience about Indonesia, where Indonesia is located, and how come Indonesia is the biggest Muslim country in the world?
Well, let me first express my appreciations to you for inviting me in this episode. I'm really gratified to have you once again meeting you, and also to have a dialogue on Indonesia. Indonesia is located in Southeast Asia, and we have close to 275 million populations, the biggest Muslim populations in the world. And I think the easiest way to relate Indonesia with people in Pakistan is probably Bali, because I learned many people in Pakistan
know Bali,
yes. More about Bali than Indonesia. So Bali is part of Indonesia. So certainly you are invited to come to different part of Indonesia whenever you travel to Indonesia, because Indonesia is not only Bali.
Sir, we know that Indonesia is a very important part of ASEAN. And what can you tell us about ASEAN? How many countries are in ASEAN, and what role Indonesia is playing in international politics through ASEAN?
Yes, ASEAN was established in 1977, and I think if you look at the history, this is very interesting, because there's a lot of, initially when ASEAN was established, there was a lot of pessimism whether ASEAN would survive, because ASEAN was established with many contradictions. For instance, now when we first established ASEAN, the original member 5 countries, Indonesia, Singapore, Malaysia, Thailand, Philippines, and then at the later stage we add Brunei, become the 6th members of ASEAN, and then we expand further to include all the ASEAN member countries. Now we have 10 with Cambodia, Laos, and Vietnam. And now we are also in the process to expand it further by including Timor-Leste as the new members of ASEAN. But the interesting about the ASEAN, because if you look at the geographically, it is located in Southeast Asia, but in terms of the civilizations, it's varied. I mean, if you look at, for instance, Malaysia, Indonesia, some part of the Thai, we have Muslim populations, which is 43% of the ASEAN populations are Muslims, but 24 of them are also Buddhists. In Thailand, Myanmar, Cambodia, Vietnam, they are Buddhist segment, including Indonesia, although a very small segment. And in the Philippines, some part of Indonesia, and I believe some part of the ASEAN, there were some Catholic populations also. So it's also diverse in terms of the civilizations, because not only Islam, but Buddhists, certainly Hindus, and Catholic in ASEAN.
Very nice. Talking about Pakistan and Indonesia friendship, I presume that Pakistan and Indonesia has a long-standing history of diplomatic relationship and a lot of cultural similarities also. So as ambassador of Indonesia to Pakistan, how do you define Pakistan's relationship with Indonesia?
Well, I think the bilateral relations, we have a very solid foundations, the strong political foundations, and well, thanks to our founding fathers, and also our leaders who provide a framework for the expansions bilateral relations. And last year's we make it more the foundations more stronger because we establish what we call it joint commissions, joint ministerial commissions, because with this joint ministerial commissions, which will be co-chaired by foreign ministers of the two sides, there will be a regular meeting among the two foreign ministers to oversee the progress of the bilateral relations and taking stock of the advancements, identifies also the area whereby we need to strengthen further, and with that then give or provide the strategic directions how we would be able to elevate further. So this was the mechanism was just concluded last year. So we hope that we would launch the inaugural meeting here in Islamabad for the two foreign ministers to meet.
Very nice, Ambassador. As we know that Pakistan also imports a lot of edible oil from Indonesia, and recently we have seen that in last 1 year, Indonesia has been helping Pakistan in the food security needs also. So what is the trade volume, and after edible oil, which is the most thing which Pakistan is importing from Indonesia?
Yeah, I think if you look at the trade statistic between the two countries, you will see last year's we recorded close to $5 million US. And this is, if we compare with the situations, the trade situations before 2013, you will see the trade not only double but triple.
Okay.
Why? I think we benefited to the fact that the two countries already signed a preferential trade arrangement, the PTA between the two countries, whereby allowing more than 300 items, good items from Pakistan to enjoy zero tariff to Indonesia. Likewise, we also have 200 something item trade to enjoy zero tariff. And one of those items is palm oil.
Okay.
And but if you look at one more closely on the trade, you will see how the trade are concentrated on several items. For instance, the Indonesian side, we export more on palm oil and coal. Palm oil actually occupied more than 76% of Indonesian trade to Pakistan, and coal probably 7 to 8%, meaning that the rest is diverse.
Yes.
And from leather, to auto spare part, we export to Pakistan. But once again, if you delete or if you ignore this palm oil and coal, you see that the trade between the two countries is actually small, and I think we need to diversify it in order for us to expand the trade further.
Ambassador, as we know that you must have seen that Pakistani people, we eat lots of spices in our food. And as I presume that spices are one common thing which is between Pakistan and Indonesia, and you recently have compiled a book also on spices. So please tell us this commonality between Pakistan and Indonesia on the spices, and also tell us about the book which you have compiled.
Yeah, well, thanks for raising this issue. I mean, I really love Pakistani food, especially the chicken tikka, the kebab chicken
Masala with masala,
with
yes.
masala. And I tasted it as very delicious. And I found Pakistani, like Indonesians, you are fond of spices.
Yes.
You love spices
Yes.
very much. And my wife told me that, people in Pakistan, they use what they call it garam masala.
Garam masala, yes.
Garam masala, and I look at the garam masala, and I got to know that the garam masala consisting of more than 10 to 15, it depends on the era, different types
Ingredients,
of
yeah.
ingredients in
Yes.
different type of spices. And this is some things that I would like to share with you. Garam masala in Urdu means the mixtures of hot spices, right?
Yes, yes.
In Indonesia, in old Indonesia, 12th century, 13th centuries, we have old kingdom, which now laying the foundations of the moderns of Indonesia. The kingdom called Majapahit, and the chief ministers of Majapahit at that time, Gajah Mada, made a vow.
Okay.
He said that I would, I would have not tasted the spices unless or until I manage to maintain the whole nation, the whole kingdom into one areas under
Okay.
the authorities of the kingdom of Majapahit. And interestingly, the vow, we call it in Indonesia the Palapa Oath.
Yeah.
The Palapa Oath. Now, interestingly, Palapa Oath in Urdu means garam masala.
Garam masala. Interesting. Very interesting. Because since we are going live also on the Facebook and the audience can see us, so can you show this book also?
Yeah, this is the book. Yeah.
It is winning hearts and mind through the foods and flavors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is, well, we did some research, and in preparing this book, it took about 6 to 7 months because we are trying also to portray not only the element of the histories, but also, for instance, in spices, we also want to see, since, for instance, Pakistani love spices food,
Yeah.
and I assume that they use black pepper.
Yeah.
And I try to find out how many, Pakistan's import black pepper
Yeah.
from the world, and I found out that Indonesia is the biggest importer to Pakistan on the black pepper, and this is something that we put it in the book. But not only black peppers, we also looking through others like a cinnamon.
Yeah.
And interestingly, on Indonesia only we are on the top only on the 3 different category: black pepper, nutmeg, and I guess another one is the clove.
Clove.
The rest, we sometimes we're number 8, sometimes we're number 10. So with that, it opened my understanding about the transactions of the spices in Pakistan. Because another interesting story, which actually encouraged me to write this book, because one study by the Chamber of the Commerce in Karachi indicated that Pakistan have a full potential to become exporter of garam masala.
Yes.
Why? Because Pakistan have huge ethnic outlet in the U.S., in the Europe, because you have diaspora, huge Pakistani diaspora living in the U.S. or living in the Europe. But the studies also recognize that to some extent Pakistan also need some spices. You need spices from different countries. So we thought that why not we first we look at the potentials, and when we saw this trade statistic, why not we are partnering in trying to once again sell more
Spices to the world.
World.
Let world enjoy their food with more spices. So, Ambassador, talking about the culture of Indonesia, about what kind of dresses people wear over there, what is the dress similarity, especially batik, the Indonesian cloth. So, can you just, because batik is now getting very famous in Pakistan, so can you please tell us about the cultural similarities between Pakistan and Indonesia, and about the dresses, what the people wear, and coming to batik also?
Yeah. Well, batik, you raise very interesting questions, brother. When I first landed in Islamabad, me and my wife went to Centaurus, And we saw in the Centaurus there is a store with the
Batik.
same batik
Yeah.
store. So I thought that, okay, I could find batik here. But apparently there's only the store name. So, okay, so,
Interesting.
very interestingly. But with that, then we realized that to some extent the word batik, Pakistani people are already familiar with. So we, once again, we did some research and in knowing that. And interestingly, I found similarities also in terms of batik. Because in Sindh, you produce also, what do you call it, ajrak.
Yes, Ajrak, Sindhi Ajrak.
Ajrak, yes.
Yes.
Which when I look at the video, how people in Sindh making ajrak, you see the motif, it's almost the same, the method. We have two different types of batik. One with printed batik, and the second more traditional and more popular handwriting batik.
Handwriting batik.
More expensive certainly because laborious in making a batik and also take times also to prepare a batik. But the printed batik almost the same. The method almost the same with ajrak.
Yeah.
So we thought that it's very interesting how far Indonesia and Pakistan we are distantly apart.
Distant and how the batik.
How the technique of making this batik also known in Pakistan.
Yeah.
And I found probably, I might be wrong, but I found one of the answers probably Indonesia, for instance, the batik from Indonesia, we found the batik from the stone carving of the old temple.
Okay.
The old temple, and one of the biggest temples in the world, actually the Buddhist temple of Borobudur.
Okay.
So in Borobudur temple, you will see the relief or stone carving depict some motif which at the later stage people in Indonesia translated into batik, motif batik. So we don't know, but from Indonesia side we learned that batik we learned from the stone carving of the biggest Borobudur temples. And Borobudur temple, this is very interesting and maybe relate with Pakistan because the Borobudur temples influenced by Gandhara civilization.
Oh.
One of the Buddha statues in Borobudur all have a curly hair.
Okay.
And when we discuss with Buddhist Association in Indonesia, we learned that they told us the Buddha statue, the first came from Gandhara civilization,
Okay.
inspired them to make it. So who knows that,
Maybe
connections-
from here, somebody must have gone there long time back, and
Yeah.
this is the connection. So, Ambassador, talking about more similarities. So, what do you say about the Jinnah cap, which our father of the nation, Quaid-e-Azam, used to wear? I hope and the Jinnah cap also has some kind of historical significance with Indonesia.
Yeah, and thanks, brother Khalid, for once again make a reference to Jinnah cap. If you look at the pictures of founding fathers, they both wearing the same
Yes.
cap, Jinnah cap. You call it in Jinnah cap. We call it in Indonesia kopiah.
Kopiah.
The cap. But basically, until now, Indonesia that's become of national symbol because in every formal occasions, especially men's, we
You wear
adopt.
the same
We
picture.
have even in the official swearing in ceremony, for instance, people wearing those Jinnah cap, and so not only for performing prayer, for instance, the cap in Indonesia, which is like a Jinnah cap here in Pakistan, we use every time in every occasion.
In Pakistan also, during weddings and during official ceremonies with Sherwani, we have a dress known as Sherwani. People wear Jinnah cap. It's very famous in Pakistan. It's famous because our founding father, Muhammad Ali Jinnah, he used to wear this cap. So it is another very good similarity between these two countries. So, Ambassador, what would you like to tell us about tourism in Indonesia? So, if Pakistanis they want to go over there for tourism purpose, is Indonesia a cheap country, a tourism affordable country? What do you say about that?
Yeah, I think if you compare Indonesia with East Asia, even with our neighbors, I think traveling to Indonesia is like less expensive, and we already have similarities in terms of the spices. So I would encourage Pakistani people to travel to Indonesia, because I learned people in Pakistan like Indonesia. Whenever you travel abroad, you want to find the first
Pakistani
thing,
food.
yeah, the food. So you don't need to worry. There is a lot of similarities. You can easily find nasi biryani in Indonesia. We call it nasi kuning.
Okay.
You can find also chicken tikka. We call it satay. Even you can find also pasandai. We call it
Pasandai.
rendang.
Okay.
Rendangs. And interestingly, since we are now also in the very short times we will welcoming the Ramadan, I learned that in Pakistan Ramadan is not complete without pakora.
Yes.
So in Indonesia also you can easily find
Pakoras.
pakoras versions, Indonesian versions of pakora.
So you call them
bakwan.
pakoras? What do you call?
We call it bakwan.
Bakwan.
Bakwan. It's very easy. You can go two methods to go to Indonesia. You can go to the Dropbox offices, submit your applications there, the Dropbox offices, and we guarantee 3 days maximum.
Okay.
You can get the visa. The second option, you go online, make applications online, and then if you go through online process, then the application will be processed by Jakarta office in Jakarta. So it also takes 3 days.
Also
maximum.
very nice. It means
Very
that
easy.
going to Indonesia for tourism is very easy, and I hope that a lot of people will Pakistan would start going to Indonesia for their holidays. And as you go for your holidays over there, you will listen over there a lot of Indonesian music, because like Pakistan, Indonesian people also love music. So today on Radio Pakistan, for the first time, we will be playing some Indonesian songs as our Honorable Ambassador of Indonesia is here. So we would take this opportunity to play the first Indonesian song on Radio Pakistan in his presence. And after that, hopefully, we'll be playing the Indonesian songs very frequently on Radio Pakistan. So we would just take a break and play an Indonesian song for the audience. I'm sure listeners must have enjoyed the Indonesian song, but I'm afraid, because since not many people in Pakistan would know about the Indonesian language. So can you explain, Ambassador, what the singer was saying in the song?
Yeah, the songs actually tell that someone falling in love, and it is like love stories about young people. They want to express themselves in expressing their love. But one thing which is I would like to share with you, the authors of these songs, actually the sons of our founding father, Sukarno.
Okay, very nice.
So his name is Guru Sukarno Putra, which
he must be a famous singer in...
he's not singers, but
he writes.
He writes a song.
Poetry.
He's many of his songs actually become popular, and now he's members of the parliament.
Oh, very nice. Interesting. So, talking about, Ambassador, the Pakistan and Indonesia economic ties and everything, I would just refer to this one leaflet which your embassy has made, in which you have mentioned that how Indonesia and Pakistan can extend their trade and how can they become more trading partners. So what do you suggest, if you have to give one suggestion to the small and medium level traders, that what should be they seeing, what should, because I presume Indonesia also has a very large population as Pakistan has. So if the Pakistani exporters have to export things to Indonesia, what will be your advice to them?
Well, first you have to identify the area whereby Pakistan have a strong point on exporting good or producing good, because I think in the economic terms we keep talking about the area of industry whereby countries have comparative advantage, and certainly the textile industries is one example. The second example, I would say the surgical equipment, because everyone knows that, especially those who are living in Pakistan, diplomatic community here, we know that Pakistan has a strong point to produce the best medical equipment, and I think this product have a potential to to be exported to different part of the world, including Indonesia, because nowadays Indonesia, with the growing economy, we built many health facilities, and in terms of the the equipment, we still need some of the equipment from the different part of the world. And on the textile, for instance, while Pakistan produce a good garment, I think we learned also that to some extent some batik raw material for textiles may come from different countries, like vinyl, viscose, and Indonesia produce viscose. So we can team up. We can make some sort of like workings together. Indonesia supply the raw materials, Pakistan's make the garment, and then we can export to different countries. So that's the area. The second area whereby I keep advising friends in Pakistan also, especially the business community, you have to give some input to the governments to once again look at the possibility for expanding that trade relationship by joining the free trade agreements, or making preferential trade agreement, because I think when we're talking today is about connectivities, then trade would be one of the very important element in addition to the social cultural aspect. So joining or making the FTA certainly will provide the benefit for Pakistan and also the trading partner. But in order for countries to get benefit for having the FTA or PTA, I think the first step that need to be done is to do some homework in identifying the area, specifying items, the items of good whereby you can ask to get zero tariff from your trade partner. So that's the suggestions I can make.
I'm sure that our listeners would be very glad to listen to your suggestions, and they would increase their exports to Indonesia. Talking about the relationship between Pakistan and Indonesia, we know that Indonesia also has a very cheap education system. The higher education, especially over there, is very cheap, and Pakistani students would like to go over there. So what can you tell to our young generation and students? What is, if they have to go to Indonesia for studies, is your university, do they start bachelor level education after 12 years? Is your bachelor's for 4 years? So what will be your guidance to the young generation?
So in terms of the schooling system, I think we have two different type of schooling systems or education system, but I think it is also similar to education system in Pakistan. One basic on the religious education systems, like a madrasa, and the second the regular systems. But the interesting point in Indonesia, because even for the we have 12 grade, the grade until 12. Once the students completed the high school, the 12th grade, even if he studied from madrasa, he can also continue their studies beyond the religious faculty. Okay. So that's one thing that I think which Indonesia has a difference than other, or probably Pakistan, because madrasa alumni, they can go to
directly to the
directly to any faculties that he wants to continue the studies. 12, like grade 12, and for the university bachelor degree, usually it takes about 3 to 4 years, 4 year maximum. But for those who who manage to finish early, they can finish 3 years.
Okay.
And I think one thing that I should also inform the audience, especially Pakistani students who wants to study abroad. In Indonesia, you can find 5 best university in QS World Ranking System.
Yeah.
So there are 5 best university in the tiers of 200 something to 500. And 200 something, 500 looks big, but if you put this is the world ranking, so you'll see that we have 5 good university worldwide. So I would suggest you also to look at possibilities of studying in Indonesia, because I think in addition to this, by studying in Indonesia, you can also know about the cultures in Indonesia. And let's not forget also that the governments of Indonesia also provide scholarship for students from Pakistan to study in Indonesia. Not only the university run by the government, but also several private universities of Indonesia, they offer also scholarship.
That's a very big news which you have told us, that the Indonesian universities are offering scholarships to the Pakistani students, and I'm sure the Pakistani students can search on the internet about the scholarship opportunities and go over there. And as I know that many Indonesian students are also studying in Pakistan, so what particular subjects the Indonesian students are interested to study in Pakistan?
Well, in terms of the number, we have now close to 400 Indonesian students in Pakistan.
Okay.
And I guess most of the 80, probably 90% of them studied in the IIU in Islamabad. And out of the number, more than 90% they study Quranic study,
Okay.
or the Arab language. But nowadays, good things we learned that some students also studies non-taking or pursuing non-Islamic studies like international politics, international relations, politics, or the international economy. So I think one of the based on what we learn, we have discussions with them, and also we usually when we organize even in the embassy, usually we invite them also to be part of this program in the embassy. We learn that they also wants to learn about the cultures of Pakistan, because it's something there is a lot of similarities in terms of the culture. So likewise, while Pakistani students who study in Indonesia learn about the cultures of Indonesia, Indonesian students also they want to learn about the beauty of the cultures and diverse cultures of Pakistan.
So while talking about the diverse culture of Pakistan and Indonesia, I would like to show this book again, one more book, which is The Cultural Beauty and Nature's Wonder, about Pakistan and Indonesia, the similarities. And this book is also the brainchild, the coffee table book is also the brainchild of the ambassador. So Ambassador, I would not explain about the book. I would have rather you explain what are the cultural similarities, and what would you tell the audience who are seeing us and who are listening to us about the cultural similarities?
Yeah, first, the similarities actually from head to toes. We already touched upon the
Jinaka,
batik, and even chapel. You call it chapel.
We call it chapel. Yeah, shoes.
Peshawari
chapel.
Yeah, we also have similar Peshawari chapels. We call it the sandals. But beyond that, interestingly, I had a chance to go to one of the areas not too far from Islamabad, and I found, the bull racing.
Yeah, bull racing.
The bull racing. Yeah,
it's very famous in the rural areas in Pakistan.
We went to Atok. I forget. Yeah, Atok, and I watched the bull racing. Indonesia also we have the bull racing.
Okay.
And it is in the East Java, in the area what we call it Madura. It's very close to Bali, and almost the same. So it's very striking similarities in terms of how people use this traditional, and I think beyond that, when I had a chance to go to Taxila, I learned that you have the cultural heritage, Gandhara heritage in Taxila, which once again we look at the Indonesia, we have one of the biggest temples in the world, Buddhist temples in Borobudur. But
Yes.
one things that we learn in Gandhara, when I visited Taxila, I was informed that and we saw the sculptures, the head of a Buddhist statues in,
Yes,
in
they are
Taxila.
there. Yes.
They have 4 different types of head, the sculptures head. One Buddhist with the bald hair. The second Buddhist with tied the hair with they tied the hair. The third Buddhist fasting Buddhist. When Buddhists exercise fasting, and then you see those faces. And the fourth, the Buddhist with curly hair.
Yes.
The curly hair. And I learned, I learned once again the history of the Gandhara civilization, and it struck me that the Buddhists with the curly hair are actually inspired by the Roman.
Yes.
Because the curly hair, it said that inspired by the Roman. And in Buddhist statue in Borobudur temples, all have the curly hair, only one hair. And when we met with the Buddhist associations there in Indonesia, we asked them about this, and they said that they said that probably the first Buddhist statues that came to those areas in Indonesia come from Gandhara, because that was the the original statues of the Buddhists with the curly hair. So once again, this is similarities between the two countries, even goes beyond.
Very, very interesting, and I'm sure that if we read on the history books, there'll be much more similarities during the prehistoric Gandhara period, because at that time not many books were written, but I'm sure there must be stone carvings in Indonesia and Pakistan which would tell more about the cultural and historical linkage between these two places. So, Ambassador, taking it forward, do you think that soon the direct flights between Indonesia and Pakistan will start? And how do you see the future of the relationship between these two countries?
Yeah, initially we already decided to open direct flight, because we learned that in order for us to expand further the relationship, not only people-to-people relationship, but also to expand the trade, then the direct flights become one of the prerequisites for that. So we worked very hard in the past prior to the COVID, and we got already agreements. We received agreement from the government of Pakistan to open direct flight from Pakistan to from Lahore and Karachi, if not mistaken, to Indonesia. But the COVID came. I think one of the industries that hard hit by the COVID is the traveling, and especially the
air traveling.
Air traveling. Yeah. So we because of that, then we revisit again. And now after the COVID, now we are planning to open the direct flight from Lahore, and again from Karachi to Jakarta and to Medan, and hopefully we are now in the process of opening the direct lines. Hopefully by the end of the year, this is my personal expectations, then we would be able to open direct flight.
So again, talking about the similarities between Indonesia and Pakistan, as I know that Indonesians are also foodie people like Pakistan. So what do they eat for breakfast, lunch, and dinner? Like we eat rice and chapatis and all. So what is your staple food, and what does the young generation in Indonesia would like to eat?
Well, we Indonesians usually eat rice 3 times a day. Yeah, sometimes twice, and then in the breakfast we change to roti, chapati here. Chapati. So that's the main staples in Indonesia, and I think nowadays if you look at the trends, especially in the youth, they healthy living has become one of the more popular tagline now. So I think what we learned that many of Indonesians also now reduce the intakes of rice and then more intake to the healthy food like vegetables. So this is something that but the rest is the same like in Pakistan.
Very nice. Ambassador, as we head towards the end of the program, and we will play another Indonesian song at the end. So before we sign off, since I know that you have visited various cities of Pakistan and you interact with a lot of Pakistani people, so as ambassador of Indonesia, as a friend of Pakistan, so what is your impression about Pakistan? If you have to explain people of Pakistan and Pakistan, so how will you explain Pakistan?
Friendly. People are very friendly and open toward the foreigner, especially if they know that I came from other Muslim countries. They are very open, very friendly, very helpful. So that's what we're talking about the people in Pakistan. And I think Pakistan is blessed with many hidden gems for tourists because there's a lot of tourist destinations. It's very beautiful. Even you don't need to travel very far from Islamabad. Only 1.5 hours, you'll see the snow in the peak of the the mountainous area in Natiagali, in Muri, and once again, especially if you go to the north, you don't need to go very far to enjoy the scenic beauties of Pakistan. Now, since a few days from now, Pakistans will celebrate Pakistani Day, may I seize the opportunities also to once again express my congratulations to Pakistani people in celebrating Pakistani Day and wishing more prosperous day for Pakistani ahead.
Thank you very much, Ambassador. Listeners, today we have the honor of having with us His Excellency Adam Tugio, who is the Ambassador of Indonesia to Pakistan. He has played an instrumental role in bringing Pakistan and Indonesia a bilateral relationship to new heights. He has been very forthcoming. He has been going and meeting with the trade people, with the government people, with the students, and with everybody. And he has played a role of not only as an ambassador but as a friend of Pakistan. So, Ambassador, thank you very much for coming today, and it has really been an honor for us. And hopefully, we'll have more programs with you. And I would also like to invite the Indonesian students someday over here to our studios to talk about their experience of Pakistan.
Thank you.
So we will finish our program over here, and before we finish, we would play a song for the audience, another Indonesian song, so that they can enjoy the Indonesian music. Thank you very much.